pretty quickly after college, but a lot of them have pretty much landed on their feet after graduation, and I'd say I'm in the minority, still living at home.
I feel bad for Aiden, and I feel bad for us in a way, because I feel it is a difficult adjustment. It's not the same as coming home for the summer.
What has the adjustment been for you?
I just think about having a social life in college, and you call your parents, twice a week, maybe, a few times. But if I stay in the city to get dinner now, I'll have to call home just to tell them, just so they know where I am.
It's getting to know Aiden in a different context, and now that he's a man, getting to know him as a man instead of as a high school student or college student.
I think one of the real positives for us has been that Aiden has seen it as a positive way to renew and perhaps change his relationship with us. And I would tell any parent to really treasure that time, because it ends very quickly, and he'll be out, and this part of his life you barely remember. So I hope that as a parent, people hold on to that and cherish it.
Thank you to the Byrne family for sharing that story with us. I gotta say, though, a 67-year-old father who has paid for all of college, sabotaged his own retirement, and mother, by the way. It's a very hard thing as a parent to say to your child, we can't afford to pay for college. How do you say it when that's the appropriate thing to say?
I think it has to be one of the hardest things you can say to your child. We can't afford college, or paying for college will eat up the whole 401k, and then our future will be very different. Now, I don't know in this family if there were other options, and they've discussed these sensitive issues very poignantly, but I think honesty is always the best, Jean. You can't lose. And in a family where there's a lot of mutual respect and admiration, there's no shame in saying, I can't afford this school, I need you to go to a state school, or I can't afford the next apartment, I need you to live home with us. There should not be shame.
When should the adult child be asked to contribute financially? Because if he was making a contribution, then more money could flow into those 401ks.
Right, and some people argue that if you're living at home, why are your parents asking you to contribute? Then it'll be harder to move out because you're not saving up.
There's no win.
But I think there's a fine line there, which is you've got to be contributing something. Otherwise, your parents are not helping you to develop a sense of responsibility and independence. Now, if you don't have a lot to contribute, you simply don't, but do your best. Then you can do more chores around the house. The real issue here is, who is the child? Who are the parents? Can they communicate honestly? Can they coexist without sabotaging, for example, the marriage, other social relationships that need to develop for Aiden, let's say?
Or Aiden's future. I want to stop you there and go back to our phones because we've got people waiting. Okay. Carmen is joining us from California. Hi, Carmen.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. You're on with me and Dr. Betsy Levy. How can we help?
Well, my daughter has asked if her family and 2 dogs can move in with us next year when their lease expires because they can't afford to live on their own. It's supposed to be temporary until they pay their debt, build their credit, and save for a new place. They think it will take about 1 year, but I know better, it will take a little longer. I'm looking forward to them moving in so I can have more time with my grandchild, but I'm worried that my marriage will take a toll, or my daughter will put us in the middle of hers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it sounds to me, Carmen, like you don't really want to do this. Am I reading that accurately?
Partially, but I also partially do want them to move in, like I said, to have that time with them.
Carmen, this is a complicated but very important one. This reminds me of the book, The Crowded Nest, just a bit. It's beautiful to want to spend time with your grandson or granddaughter. That's very beautiful. But then you've got to make it very clear to your daughter and son-in-law that they are the parents and you're not raising their child, nor are you trying to, so that they don't resent, or perhaps even the son-in-law doesn't resent your grandmaternal but maternal role. And similarly, that your spouse and your marriage can take, 3 people and a dog, was it? Is that correct?
Yeah, 3 people and 2 dogs.
The 3 people and 2 dogs. So now we're talking about 2 marriages that need to survive, and appropriate role modeling for a little boy, little grandchild. You know, you say yourself you don't think a year is realistic. It'll last longer. I think you need to be quite careful about, if you want to give it this year, keeping it to a year, because you have 2 marriages to save and the right messages to a little boy.
Yeah, absolutely great advice, Betsy. Thank you so much. We've got an email, and good luck with that, Carmen. We've got an email from Charlotte in Vermont, and she writes, I've been reading articles about how to force boomerang kids out of the house, but if they're living with you because they can't afford not to, doesn't it prolong the situation if I charge them money for rent and utilities? Won't it take them even longer to save up for their own apartment if I make them pay rent? And it comes back to this issue of responsibility. Yes, it will take them longer. However, you have to put them into the position where they're being an adult.
Right, and where they actually enjoy being an adult. Maybe they're modeling you, and they've had a little extra time to see how you pay those bills, the easier months and the harder months, what you skip for the harder months, where you make financial decisions in a family to keep yourself afloat and keep yourself out of financial risk. So hopefully they're learning from you. It's just hopefully they're not learning from you, with you, and for you, so that they don't have the encouragement and self-confidence to move out.
One of my friends told me that when she moved back home, her parents did charge her rent, but then saved the money, and when she was ready to leave, gave it to her as a starter emergency cushion. Is that helpful, or
I think it's a lovely idea, because she got the experience of knowing from month to month what it's like to write checks that are critical and essential, but she also then got a little bit of help moving forward and getting out of the house and into her own independent, social, academic, and professional world, which is where she should be. So actually, that's a very nice suggestion. I hadn't heard that particular one before.
Well, she definitely appreciated it. Dr. Betsy Schur Levy, thank you so much
for
being with
Jean.
you.
It was my pleasure to be here. I hope I could help.
Totally helpful, and I hope you come back again. And
That'd
remember,
be my pleasure as well.
Remember, if you'd like to contribute to this conversation, you can reach me at 855-550-7588 or over Twitter, Facebook, Skype, or email, where I'm Jean@jeanchatzky.com. And next up, a man who literally spent a boatload of money on purchases he regrets. Ted will fess up and explain why he now says, oh, I shouldn't have.